Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a sometimes weekly podcast where we tell stories from the Bonnaroovians Music and Arts Festival. I'm Daniel.
I'm Sharla.
What's been going on for you, Sharla?
I'm doing a month of sobriety.
Whoa, really? Okay, tell me about that.
You know how people do dry January?
Yeah?
I'm doing dry August the 18th through September the 18th, I guess.
Why those very specific dates?
Because that was the last time I drank and decided to just do a month.
Okay, tell me what brought this on.
Somebody bought me a bunch of shots.
Do you want to name names?
Nah, I'm not going to name names.
Okay.
And I was like, nope, not doing that again. And anyway, since I stopped, I've lost about 5 pounds. Never felt better.
Really?
Never felt better in my life.
Maybe I should give this a try.
It's fantastic.
I am not like someone who is deep into this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, if it's like the weekend and somebody offers me something, I'm like, sure, why not? And if it's an event like Bonnaroo or a vacation, then maybe I'll indulge a little bit more. But maybe I will follow your lead on this.
I was getting way too into the craft beer.
Really?
That was my big thing.
I got to tell you something. I am really not into beer anymore. I'm trying to watch my weight a little bit better now that I'm getting older.
Fatty.
Yeah, that's the main reason. And also, I just don't really like the taste of most beers anymore. I've never really liked kind of the bitter taste of IPA. And these days, I just am not big on the taste of any beer. Now, I do love sours. I love like kind of the fruity taste of things, and sour is kind of close to that. I do like those, but not nearly as much as I used to with, you know, any kind of drink like that. Now, you do like the IPAs, though, right?
I love IPAs, but I think I loved it a little too much, and I was like, I gotta step back. This is going. When you get to that point when you're like, I'm realizing I'm liking these IPAs a little too much. Like, I mean, it wasn't like affecting me or anything, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do like a dry month here.
I realized that a lot of people that know us or listen to this podcast are in their 20s. You can kind of get away with it now, but once you get into your 30s, like we are, you have to pace yourself a little bit more so you can watch your health, watch your weight. Yeah. There's a lot of different reasons.
But no joke, like I haven't had a drink in I don't know. I mentioned those dates, but really it's been like about 2 or 3 weeks, and I've seriously lost probably about 4 or 5 pounds now.
I can tell.
I've never felt better.
Really?
I feel fantastic.
So it's not just the weight thing, but you just feel physically better, like you feel healthier?
Yes. I feel fantastic.
So why did you choose those particular dates to end your dry run?
To end it?
Yeah.
We taking a little trip.
Yeah. No, I think you can talk about that. Like, we're going to go to the beach. Like, you, me, Brooklyn, our good friend Aaron that has been really with us.
Do we need to be talking about taking vacations right now?
You know what? Yes. I think that's okay.
Is that okay to say?
We've been in this...
I don't want anybody to be like, ooh, the Rubus people be doing this.
No, I think it's fine. You know, we've been in this situation in the Rona world in 2020 for 6 months or a little bit longer now. When it first started and hardly anyone knew anything about it, then we had to be careful. Yeah,
I'm not going to go crazy at the beach.
Oh, okay. You had to clarify that.
Because I just want to clarify, I'm not just going to end my dry month by going crazy or anything. I just want to clarify that. No, because once you stop drinking, you feel so good, you don't want to go back to it.
That's why I want to give it a try. Maybe I will after the beach. But you know what we're saying? Yeah, I'm not afraid to talk about that because I think it's okay to get out as long as you're doing it.
Well, you have to be safe about it.
Yes, safely.
Very safe.
Responsibly.
And responsible.
Like if you're going out with people that you haven't already been around, you got to wear a mask. That's number one thing.
Well, that's the main people we've been around the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of formed our own bubble where each of us have an unspoken agreement where we're not going out that much amongst other people so we can still hang out together. And it's kept me sane the past couple of months. As we've gotten further into this and there's starting to kind of sort of be a light at the end of the tunnel,
hopefully
we understand more and we know what we can and can't get away with. Most important thing, like I said, is wearing a mask. But I'm not as afraid to touch stuff anymore as I used to be. I actually got gas in my car yesterday without using a rag to get the...
You didn't use your touching rag?
Yeah, I didn't use a rag to touch the button and the handle, and just kind of wiped it on my pants.
Can I just say, all my Bonnaroo bandanas, they might be gone.
Oh no, I know where they are. I know where they are. They're still in the dirty clothes.
Do you know where the one from 2013 is? Because that was the most blessed and precious.
Oh, we'll find it. It's got to be here somewhere. But yeah, like many other Bonnaroovians, we were using those as bandanas and kind of handling rags or touching rags, as you put them, the first couple of months.
Yeah, before masks were a thing, we were using those.
Yeah.
Masks,
well, they worked really well.
Yeah.
And it looked kind of cool too.
So you were talking about getting out. We've actually went to a couple of drive-in movies.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Cheryl.
We saw Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
And we saw Tenet.
Yeah, so we're lucky that there are two places, really just within a 15-minute drive of our place here in Huntsville, Alabama, where the Rue bus is parked. We went to one in Athens to see Bill and Ted, which I totally recommend for every Bonnaroovian listening to this. Maybe you guys are a little young to know Bill and Ted. Brooklyn didn't. I was shocked that she hadn't heard of Bill and Ted. Like, she didn't know that was like one of Keanu Reeves' first things. The second one was a little goofy, but the first one still holds up as like a goofy stoner 80s music movie. And the third one, I am very happy to report, was exactly the most positive movie needed at the best time right now. Like, it's a little different because those guys are like in their 50s now and they're a little bit more grown up.
Can I say I know somebody that's in the movie?
Oh, do you want to tell the story of that real quick?
I mean, there's no story. I just know somebody that's in the movie.
I guess if you told what it was, it would be a little bit of a spoiler. Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil it.
We'll talk about that some other time. But yes, I totally recommend Bill and Ted 3. I think you can download it on iTunes or Amazon or whatever, and it is at drive-ins. If you have one of those near you, it's such a good movie for Bonnaroovians right now. If I talked the specifics why, I would be going into spoilers, but if you know Keanu Reeves and know his legend on the internet, you already know that it's a very positive thing, so I totally recommend that. And I cannot talk about Tenet at all because if I said anything at all about that, I would ruin it. But, oh man, that was such a cool movie.
So,
it blew my mind.
We have the Athens drive-in. It's like a traditional drive-in. Like, it's been there for a long time. And then, they've set up this one theater in Huntsville has just created a drive-in. And it's like really good. It's like really good quality. And the sound quality was fine considering it was on the radio. But where you really want to go is our hometown of Russellville, Alabama. Now, they have a real drive-in.
The King Drive-In.
The King Drive-In in Russellville, Alabama.
A lot of people may not know that, but I will bet that they know the Shoals area because it kind of has a...
Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, Muscle Shoals has a big history in music. There are two studios there. Fame Recording Studios and another one in Sheffield. What's the name of that one? The sound studio? I can't remember. But they have a big history because people like the Rolling Stones have recorded there. Cher, Bob Dylan. Dr. Hook, yeah.
Dr. Hook wrote a song about my parents, but we'll save that for another day.
Okay. Yeah. More recently, I think Jack White and the Black Keys have recorded some songs there in the past. But anyway, you know that area probably. It's in northwest Alabama. And,
so south of there.
Yeah.
Is where Daniel and I are from, Russellville. Don't go there.
It's a blink and you miss it kind of town.
Yeah.
And,
but go to the King. Don't go there, but you can go there to go to the King Drive-In.
And I talked to the owner of that recently, and he said that they'll have Tenet soon too.
Really cool.
Yeah, they were playing Bill and Ted last week.
We should take the bus.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Definitely take the bus.
Hey,
it'll be baller.
So we did have a main theme for this episode that we did want to get in later. We're going to talk about travel.
Well, hold on a second. I'm talking about the King Drive-In.
Oh, well, please, go ahead.
So, anyways, it's probably been there since the dawn of time. I don't know.
50s or 60s?
Because everything, it's still 50s and 60s. And you have to put your trash in the white trash bins.
Yeah, that's a long-running joke.
It's this whole joke.
And the concession stand is legit. They got good hamburgers.
They have the best hamburgers. Like, everything is just, it's just nostalgia out the door.
I think it's just $6 a person to get in. It's pretty cheap.
I don't know.
And you get two movies.
But, yeah. That's about it. But
go check that out.
Pretty cool.
Hey, so two things we're going to get into. We're going to talk about travel stuff in a minute. But you just mentioned something that I want to talk about for a minute. Strange places to take the bus.
Yeah.
You're saying we should take it to the drive-in. We've talked about this before. I will be a little transparent. You know, we talked earlier about going to the beach. Our buddy Aaron, you can actually see his picture on the album art to our podcast. He's sitting between Brooklyn in a Shoe on the hood of the bus. He has been trying to talk me for years into taking the bus down to the Gulf Shores area, like Alabama's beach. And just picture this in your mind. We're in Huntsville, just outside of Huntsville, at the northernmost part of the state. And, of course, the beach is at the southernmost part. That's about a 6-hour drive one way. He wants me to take the bus down there and back and stay at the beach for like a week or whatever. And I think it has been well documented the mechanical problems that we've had in the past with the bus.
We already got that fixed.
Yeah, it's fixed. But it's still an 89 bus. I trust it for like these like 2 or 3 hour trips. But like a 12-hour round trip, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to push my luck, There's some hills through Birmingham on the way down there and the way back. Do you think we should do it sometime?
Yes, I do. Because that bus is running great because Gowdy Fleet Services. That's where you want to go.
Yeah, totally recommend them. Just outside of Ardmore, Alabama. They hooked us up.
This episode is Sharla's recommendations.
If you have a big diesel or a hippie bus like ours or whatever, Gowdy Fleet Services outside of Ardmore.
This is an ad for Gowdy Fleet Services.
And it's for free. We paid them to fix the bus, but I was so happy with their work that we'll totally recommend them.
Yeah, if you got a diesel or a big vehicle or whatever, Gowdy Fleet Services, just outside of Ardmore, Alabama. That's where you want to go.
I can tell you one that I would recommend you not to go, but I don't want somebody to go after me for slander or whatever.
Yeah, oh my goodness, yeah.
Ask me privately, and I'll tell you where not to go.
Yeah, we'll tell you where not to go, but it's private. But
yeah.
Seriously.
So you would drive it. You would drive it to the beach and back. You think? It's something I'll consider for 2021.
Maybe.
Because we've been talking about this. So we chose to roll our Bonnaroo tickets over until next year because we're going back anyways. What is the point of refunding it if we're just going to turn around and give them our money again?
I'm not going to not go.
Yeah. So we will have it in the budget next year to do another festival or like a bus trip or something like that.
Yeah, Burning Man.
Burning Man?
Burning Man.
I feel like we could do a whole episode just on talking about our considerations for Burning Man.
Talking about going to Burning Man.
Okay, so first of all,
thinking about maybe.
First of all, I am entirely ruling out driving the bus to Burning Man and back. Oh my god.
Yeah, just the gas alone. That would be like $1,000.
So the cost to go to Manchester and back from our house here outside of Huntsville isn't that bad. I spend about $50 in diesel for the round trip from here to Manchester and back.
No, it's probably about $100.
No, it's less than that. The bus does surprisingly well.
Please.
No, I promise you. No, when we went last year, I am not exaggerating this. I hand on the Bible, this is the truth. The last 2 years, I filled it up right before we went to Manchester, right? Mm-hmm. Right, at a place that has a diesel pump literally next to our house. And then by the time we get to Manchester, it is about 3/4 full, maybe 2/3 full or whatever. And, of course, we'll take it to Cracker Barrel after we leave Bonnaroo, and then we drive back. Maybe a slight detour or two on the way, or the way back, too. When we get back, without topping it off, it's still over 1/4 of a tank. After filling it up costs, depending on the price of diesel, about $50, $60, $70, $80 if it's, like, really high. So it's not that bad. That's a 2-hour trip to Manchester one way, considering the bus doesn't really get above like 65 even when it is running well, And I think Aaron and I figured that we could drive it down to the beach and back for about $200 in diesel. Yeah. Of course, we'd all pitch in.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, driving it to the middle of nowhere in the desert, that's probably a no-go.
You'd have to, get, some diesel in a can.
Yeah, there's that consideration too. We might not even see a gas station for many miles. That would suck to be stuck in the middle of a desert with no gas and stuck. That thing would bake. Yeah, I didn't consider that. But we've talked with other Bonnaroovians about maybe setting up a Bonnaroo group camp at Burning Man. But there's just so much logistical challenge in it.
Celia or somebody from Roo Fitness said that she looked into it, or
she was thinking
talking to somebody that looked into it, and even if you rented a car, you have to tape up all your windows.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's so much to it. I mean, and just from what we've looked into it. I know I looked into it, and you can't And I know people who are listening to this podcast are probably like, I've done Burning Man 17 times, or something.
Then please, message us. We want to know how to do it,
yeah.
because it's a bucket list thing for us.
You can't, like, if you take a shower or if you spill some water on the ground, you have to soak up the water with your towel.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. Because it's called moot, matter out of place.
Yeah. So, for a hot minute last year, you and I considered it. We were going to rent a camper van kind of thing out of San Francisco. And that was going to cost an arm and a leg because they had an extra...
Oh, because it was like an extra $1,000?
Non-refundable fee. If you take it
to Burning
to
Man,
Black Rock Desert, they know that they're going to have to clean up the sand and everything. And it was at that point I'm like, I just can't invest this much. I still want to do it one of these days. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. But yeah, I think the first step might be putting together a Bonnaroo group camp at Burning Man.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah. So I put some feelers out there with some other people. If anyone's listening to this and you've ever considered it and want to get in on it with us, we would love to go sometime in the next couple of years. Let's figure it out.
What I've been told is that you need to go to one of the regional burns first.
Yes. Now, Mitchell from Red Roo has told us about that. He has gone to one in Georgia.
Yeah.
In the middle of the woods or whatever. Which totally sounds like a thing that he would do.
Apparently there's a really good one in Georgia.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. Let's have him on one of these days, and we can get him to tell us about his experience at that. Mitchell could tell us a lot of stories about his various experiences, but there's certain things...
Have we ever had him on this podcast? What are we doing with our lives? Why has Mitchell never been on this podcast?
Because if I got Mitchell on this podcast, the episode would be 4 hours long.
Oh, no. It would be like 15 hours long.
It would be an amazing 15 hours. It would be
the most amazing podcast we've ever done.
I'm not saying that to make... Well, maybe I'm making fun of him a little bit.
No, you're not.
But, like...
It would be the best podcast of all time. Love it.
He is a everlasting gobstopper of ridiculous jokes and stories.
It would be like an ASMR podcast for me. I would just put it on and go to sleep.
We went to an Atlanta Braves game with him and Sarah last year, and he told me he hadn't been in years. I told him we were coming into town. He's like, oh, sure, there's happy people there and there's alcohol. I'll be there. He's like, sounds good to me. Like, how do you baseball? But he shows up, and there's some things I won't talk about on this podcast, but I had the best time with him, and I don't even remember that much about the baseball game. I think the Braves lost. I don't remember. But I was just, like, being entertained with his crazy stories and tales and everything. Let's get him to Burning Man.
That'd be so much fun.
It would. All right, we could talk about this stuff forever. But the main thing we wanted to talk about in this podcast is travel stuff. We have touched on this a time or two in the past, but given as this is going to be a guestless episode where it's just us talking with you guys, we want to talk a little bit more about this. Now, traveling internationally is something that Sharla and I have done for about 10 years now. First of all, I will be entirely transparent. Us being in our 30s and not having kids is the main reason that we're able to do that. I totally recognize that not everyone is able. But one reason we were going to talk about this today is we're going to give you some tips on how you can do it very affordably, right?
Yes.
And also kind of what you need to know if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling like this.
So when we very first started traveling, we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. Truthfully, I thought the only place that we could ever afford to go was to the beach every year because that's what we grew up doing. That's all that we knew to do.
That's all that we did do for 3 or 4 years there after we first got married.
That's what I thought you did.
Yeah. Which was, it was all right. You know,
we
had
nothing
an
wrong
okay
with
time.
that.
But eventually I was like, yeah, let's go see something else.
Yeah. And I think the first place that we really traveled, quote unquote, outside of our comfort zone was probably when we went to New York.
Yeah, we decided.
New York City.
Yeah, we wanted to do something a little bit different for our anniversary that year.
I think it was 2007.
Yeah. Our first mistake was that we only stayed in Manhattan for 2 nights. We should have stayed longer than that.
Yeah.
I got a good deal.
We went for the weekend, I think.
Yeah. I got a good deal on a place near Union Square, you know, comparably because it's New York prices. But 2 nights and like just 2.5 days was nowhere near enough to do everything that we should have done. We did do some cool stuff. We got to go to a museum. We went to the Trade Center site. We actually went to a live taping of Late Night with Conan O'Brien when he was still in town.
Which, that was super cool.
That was cool because Harrison Ford was the guest that episode.
And the cool thing about that is it was free, so
Yeah.
we didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah, you can go to a lot of tapings in New York very easily as long as
And
you
they're
kind of...
free, yeah.
Yeah, you might want to reserve it ahead of time, though.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can do that now in the Rona age, but,
Well,
you know.
Once we get past that, yeah, you can.
You can go to, like, free tapings.
Yeah, or just show up. I mean, if it's something you really want to see,
Yeah.
just go a few hours early.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. That's easy to do in New York.
And we actually were able to get on the front row, too, for that.
Kind of because I was making a scene.
Well, no, what it was
Yeah.
is at the time we were like super young and hip looking and cool looking.
No,
now
it's
they
not.
now they throw us in the back with
Yeah.
the old folks.
Maybe not. I did make a scene on that episode. I clapped a little too loudly towards the end of Conan's
You got
mom.
called out by the guy.
Okay. Can we
from
not
Will
go
and
into
Grace.
that? Can we not go into that? But Harrison Ford was there. It was amazing. I said as far as, like 15 feet away from like Indiana Jones and Han Solo. It was amazing.
Then he got called out by the guy from Will and Grace.
Shut up. We're not going to talk about that. Hey, there was like a meme that came out of that episode.
Yeah.
Where like one of the production assistants came out and asked this really nerdy question. And like Harrison Ford was like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like that still gets memed.
Yeah.
I was like, I was there.
And you can hear Daniel go,
Yeah. But, main thing for, like, a domestic trip is, you're going to find a good deal as long as you search around. Stay more than 2 nights. We did the same thing a year or two later. We went to San Francisco and only stayed 2 nights, which was dumb because there's
that
so
was
much
the
to do
second
there.
trip we took was to San Francisco.
And,
Stayed for the weekend.
yeah, we should have done more. We had a do-over on that years later. We went to San Francisco and stayed a couple nights, but drove out to Yosemite for 3 nights, which I cannot recommend that place enough. I love Yosemite so much. It's probably my favorite natural place in all the United States.
Now, the thing to know about California, though, and going to Yosemite and going out there, so expensive.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So expensive.
We're going to get to our international trips in a minute, but I think I have spent the most on any of our trips going to San Francisco and Yosemite for a week.
That's the most expensive trip that we've taken, by far.
It was kind of worth it, though. Like, Yosemite is, if you're a Bonnaroovian, I can't recommend it enough. Because you're probably, if you go to Bonnaroo, you're okay camping, and you like doing outdoor stuff. It is the best, like, outdoor thing I've ever done. Like going going hiking up the Half Dome Trail for the better part of a day, and just walking around inside the big Yosemite Valley and seeing El Capitan.
The thing about going out there, about going to Yosemite and places, well, I say places out west. Some of you that are listening live out there.
Yeah.
But like, the thing about going out there for us, because Daniel and I, well, at the time, we both had full-time professional careers. We had very limited time off work.
That's true. Yeah.
So we had to fly out there.
That's the main cost when you're doing domestic travel, I guess.
We had to fly out there and rent cars and drive to Yosemite. It's so much better if you can drive because you can take your camping equipment and you can camp and you can really do it right. We had to fly and we had to rent this little rinky-dink cabin, and we didn't really get the full experience, the full Yosemite experience. You know what I'm saying? We just kind of did it. I don't know. We just didn't get the full Yosemite experience. It was beautiful and magical, but I think it would probably be a little bit better if you can drive. Wouldn't you say, Daniel?
Yeah, I agree. And that same type of challenge that you're talking about is the challenge that we faced when it comes to going to Burning Man.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
You have to have all of these supplies and everything.
Equipment and stuff.
And if you're flying, that's not very easy to do. Or you have to have it very minimalistic. And if you want to get the full experience at a place like Yosemite for like a week, or if you're going to do Burning Man, where you literally have to supply everything yourself, it's not easy to have that on your luggage that goes on the plane. So, yeah, I mean, that's a challenge that even we haven't figured out. And I think it was one reason that we were like, maybe we should look into going overseas for our trips or whatever.
Yeah.
When I was in the first half of my 20s, I never would have thought that something like that was possible. Until I started looking into it, and I realized, this is nowhere near as expensive as I thought it was. I
never in my life thought I would be able to go anywhere international, because that's just...
You would think it's a giant luxury.
Yeah. I always thought growing up that was a luxury. And I didn't grow up rich. I didn't grow up poor. I grew up just straight middle class could get. And,
I was on the lower end of middle class.
Well,
but,
yeah, probably, yeah.
So I appreciate all these things now.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, taking international trips. I mean, even taking trips out of state, even getting on a plane. I mean, that's just super luxury, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never thought doing anything like that would be, you know. I mean, that was just that's for rich people.
Come to find out, it's not.
And then I saw, you know, as I got older, I started seeing people on the internet were taking international trips, and I thought, well, if these people are doing this, how are they doing this? Mm-hmm. And so that's when I kind of started looking into it a little bit for myself, and I thought, well, wait, hang on a second. If this flight is only X amount, and this hotel is only X amount,
what's stopping you? Yeah,
that's the same price as it is to go to Gulf Shores.
Yeah, so like I'm not.
And I started
names.
doing the math, and that's the same price as it is to go to Gulf Shores for a few days.
Yep.
Wait a minute. So that's how I kind of started taking the notion, or I kind of started getting the idea into my head of going on international trips.
I'm not going to name names, but we know a lot of people that take like a week or two in Panama City or Destin or something like that every year and spend like $2 or $3 grand.
Oh,
right?
More than that.
And to them, that's fine. You know, they're having their chill time at the beach.
Whatever.
And I'm not judging. Yeah, that's great if that's your thing. In fact, that sounds awesome. But then I remember the big trigger for me was back in 2012. I had always wanted to visit London. Just something about it seemed very magical to me. And I don't mean in like a Harry Potter sense. You know, just like it seemed like a really cool town where there's a lot of cool history and things to see. And I just always wanted to go. In 2012, the Olympics happened there. And they had an amazing opening ceremonies that showcased so much of the town and the history and everything. And I was just like, okay, that's it. I'm going to save up. I'm going to research this. I want to go spend some time in London. And it wasn't super cheap, but I spent less than I thought I would have. A place to stay in London is not cheap. The flight from Huntsville to Atlanta to London was far cheaper than I thought it would be. And of course, it was a round-trip flight. I want to say back in 2013 when we went in October of that year, which is a really good time to get good, cheap flight tickets, by the way. October just seems to be a good time to find a good price.
The majority of the trips that we've taken have always been around October.
Yeah,
October, November. Yeah. September through November is usually when we take our trips.
And the weather was good in London around that time, too. So the flight was cheap. I think at that time in 2013, for round-trip flights, I spent about $700 each for us, which is pretty good because, like, you know, prior to COVID hitting, I think a round-trip flight to London and back from somewhere in the U.S. was around $1,000, maybe a little bit more. You can find it cheaper than that if you're open to having your dates at other times or whatever. So the place we stayed at was not super cheap because it was within a couple of blocks of King's Cross, like the actual train station that Harry Potter leaves from to go to Hogwarts, you know. That was cool. There was a little store there that was kind of a tourist trap, but it's cool to look.
Always remember when you're doing your, looking for your trip, your flight is going to be the most expensive thing.
Yeah.
99% of the time, your flight's going to be. Would you say that's accurate? 99%.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Your flight's going to be the most expensive part of your trip, unless you're just wanting to stay in a luxury hotel. The majority of the time, the flight's going to be the most expensive part.
So we're going to get to Asia here in a minute, but I will say Europe is more expensive. The hotels are usually more expensive. Travel, like if you're doing like their version of Uber or the train, is a little pricey. Not too bad. But aside from like maybe Amsterdam, the rest of Europe is about the same price that you would find in the United States for like food and all kind of different things. But the cool thing though is if you go to London, most of the museums are free. It's like the Smithsonian museums in Washington D.C. So you can go to the British Museum that has amazing things like, you know, paintings from Van Gogh or like pieces from Egypt. Like they have a piece of the Pharaoh there, and the Rosetta Stone is there. That was amazing to see that in person. You know, if you don't know what that is, that's basically how historians came to understand Egyptian hieroglyphics. Without that thing, they might not have figured it out. So many cool things like that. And it's just for free. You can just walk in and go see it. And you can see a play in the West End of London, and it's not that expensive. We went to go see Monty Python's Spamalot, and I think I only spent like £25 a ticket.
I met Warwick Davis.
Yeah. That was funny.
Got my picture with him. That was super cool.
If you don't know who he is, he was
Wicket the Ewok.
Wicket the Ewok in Star Wars, and
Willow,
a couple of different roles in Harry Potter too. He was like a goblin and one of the teachers. But yeah, that's something cool. If you ever go to a play, either in New York or London, if you go hang out next to the dressing room, it's like a tradition for the actors to come out and sign autographs and take pictures and talk with you about the show. They'll ask you like, "Oh, what did you think of this? How can I improve?" That's just a tradition that goes back hundreds of years. We have a friend that met Benedict Cumberbatch doing that when he Marie.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he was doing a play, she got to meet him for a moment. That was really cool. Yeah. But yeah, that's not. I know. So let's get to Asia, which is cheaper, and which is the place that I recommend for Bonnaroovians to go.
So all my life, well, not all my life, but since I was a child, I wanted to go to Thailand because my mom grew up there. Well, she lived there for several years while she was growing up. My grandfather was stationed there for several years, and he was a cook there, and he ran a club there. He was the manager of the club, and they lived in Bangkok, and my mom went to school there, etc., and so forth. And I asked Daniel if he wanted to go to Bangkok, and he said, "No way, it's dangerous."
I didn't know.
No, never. And I don't know, I finally convinced him, after a long time, finally convinced him to go. And again, the flight was by far the most expensive part, because when you get there, the hostel is like $9 a day.
Yeah.
And when I first heard the term hostel, I was like, oh no, oh my goodness, no, never. That does not mean, yeah, hostel is not what you think. Like, I always thought a hostel was just like some raggedy place that, you know.
Well, I think that term is tainted because there was a couple of horror movies called Hostel back in the day.
Yeah, no, it's just like a really cool, like, it's like being at Bonnaroo. It's just like, chill.
Well, I mean, like, if it was like at Bonnaroo, it would be considered like a luxury thing that you would pay like probably like $1,000 for, like those tents that they put out close to the Archgate. Like, that is less nice than a hostel.
Yeah, no, you can the hostels that Daniel and I have stayed at, we've always gotten a private room in it and paid like $20 a day or something. Yeah.
I think at the one we stayed at the last time we went to Bangkok, it was called Siri Postel.
Siri Postel, yeah.
You know, that's them trying to get around the negative connotation of that word. It really was a posh hostel. Like, we had nice little cubby holes, and there was a really nice common area downstairs with like bean bags and video games and musical instruments and things like that.
Super cool.
I think we paid, like $15 a night.
Anyway, so we ended up going to Bangkok, and the first time we went, we actually took my mom back for her 60th birthday, and which was super cool because she knows a little bit of Thai, like enough to like communicate, enough to say please, thank you.
And she could sing an old Pepsi ad in Thai.
Enough to say, I don't know what you're saying. And so we took her back for her 60th birthday. It was super cool. We had a good time.
And I quickly figured out that it was not the scary place that I had dumbly assumed it to be before. Like, oh my gosh, it is a party town. I've said this before. I think we did a couple of streams when we were there with Brooklyn and Chelsea the second time that we went. But Thailand in general shares so much in common with Bonnaroo. It's amazing. So I know that like Bonnaroo has deep, deep roots out of New Orleans because, it's also a party town, and there's some I don't know if I would say like French influence, but the Cajun influence is there at Bonnaroo. You've got Jake and Snakes, which originally was kind of like a seedy dive bar near New Orleans. So there is a lot of that kind of vibe in Thailand too, mostly because everyone is just so chill, so happy to see you.
Right.
Like funny, like everything is hilarious, like that they say or that they hear.
Daniel ended up liking Thailand so much that like the next year or a year or two later, he literally took his friends back over to Thailand because he was like, everybody has to experience this. I need everybody to go.
Well, it's just so much. It's that everything is a good price. Like, you can get a really good dinner and a beer for less than the equivalent of $3 or $4 American. And there's amazing places to go shop where everything is super cheap and you can get all kind of good snacks, like chicken on a stick or the weenies in the little rolls.
Yes,
so good.
I mean, the food is so incredible.
Yeah.
I can't even...
The people are amazing.
Okay, imagine, like, I don't know, if you've ever been to Bourbon Street. Think about Bourbon Street, but...
A whole city of it.
No, that's not what I was going to say
That's
at
what I'm
all.
saying.
No.
Okay.
Imagine Bourbon Street, but way less drunks.
Oh,
No, let me finish. Imagine Bourbon Street, way less drunks, way less rednecks, and way more culture.
Yes. Now, that is something I want to zone in on really quick. Thailand is the crossroads of so many different international cultures.
Multiculturalism.
So it's in South Asia, which means it's kind of like equal distance to, Australia, the rest of Asia, like, China and Japan. It's not that far from India. There's tons of European backpackers coming down because it's cheap for them, And when you get into Bangkok especially, it's just everything. So it's not just like the Thai Buddhist temples and the street food, but like you see like Hindu temples, you see the European backpackers, you see a lot of Chinese tourists, you see like a lot of Kiwis from New Zealand coming up on holiday. It's everything. So it's not just the people that you meet.
When you go to Thailand, you see, all different religions, all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, just all coming together and everyone getting along. It's just incredible. The second time that we went to Thailand, we flew from Bangkok down to Krabi, and those flights were
I think we paid $20 one way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to be careful with that because we got the cheap flights and they charge for your luggage.
Which isn't that bad, but it is a hidden fee.
Yeah, that's how they get you. Yeah. So what you do is you backpack. That's why you backpack it. You take all your clothes and you put them on, and then you carry in your backpack or whatever. Well, there's ways around it.
Here's another comparison that we can make to Bonnaroo, because I feel like a lot of people pack really well for Bonnaroo, putting everything in the back of the car. You have everything on your person in large part, so do that when you go over there backpacking across Europe or in Asia.
So we flew down to Krabi. And we stayed at this hostel. And this was me, Daniel, Brooklyn, and Chelsea. We stayed at this hostel called Slumber Party.
Oh, man.
And to say it was the crossroads of the international world is an understatement. There was... imagine Bonnaroo, but international Bonnaroo.
Yes.
Because it's a giant party going 24/7. Music going 24/7. But there's people there from United States, that was us, people from India, people from Korea, people from Thailand, people from Germany, people from France, England, Australia. Just international Bonnaroo right there. If you ever go to Thailand, please stay at Slumber Party.
Yeah, another free ad this time for them.
Yeah, this is an ad for Slumber Party. Yeah. And they have them in Thailand. They have them all across Thailand. These hostels called Slumber Party.
I will say that
they have them in. They have one in the Philippines as well. Slumber Party hostel. You can get a shared room, or you can get a private room in some of them, and they're just super cool.
They do all kind of tours. They'll take you on the islands.
Well, here's the cool thing. Yeah. You can book tours through them. So we took this one called the Island Tour. It's called Island Awesomeness or something.
I think that was it. And
they take you out to all these little islands. Haley was our guide. And we're still in contact with all these people that we met there. Haley.
She's from London, or Manchester, London. Or Manchester, UK, which is a nice bit of serendipity.
Yeah. And so she takes us out there on a boat. And you get to swim in these like Thai mountain ocean, the Gulf of Thailand, and you get to swim with all the fishes and go snorkeling, and you get to climb a mountain, and you get to see a dick cave.
Oh, well, maybe I'll post a picture
cave.
of that.
Yeah,
it's literally a cave full of penises. Like,
and
there's no other way to describe it.
I mean, it's just super secret swimming hole is the place, and oh my goodness, so cool.
So the day that we did that is on up there in one of the best days of my life, like alongside like Friday night of 2016 at Bonnaroo.
So
like because we did that, we have this amazing tour with people from all over the world. They feed us Thai food, they give us Thai beer. We're swimming in these amazing places.
Oh yeah, and their beers on that were like 50 cents.
Yeah. And then like that, we get invited to this party that's happening at the main slumber party thing up the hill. Oh my gosh. You think it gets lit at Bonnaroo. I mean, there was only like maybe like 40, 50 people there. But like, to me, like I was like, this is what the world should be like.
Yeah.
Because we were all so happy to see each other and party together, and we're sharing stories, and everybody's differences and their home countries just faded away. It was just the most magical night because like we were making friends from people from all over the world, and what we had in common was so much stronger than the differences that we had, which there were a lot, you know?
Exactly.
I just could not believe. I mean, I wasn't entirely sober for it, but maybe that was part of why it was so magical. But I just had the best time, and nothing compares to it. Like, it's hard for even Bonnaroo to compare to it.
There was a guy, Daniel wore his slumber party shirt to Bonnaroo a couple years ago, and there was a guy that came up and said, "Oh, slumber party, I stayed there." So yeah, it's so much in common with Bonnaroo. I can't even describe it. If you can, I mean, I'll just be transparent, very transparent. It's with the flights. That whole trip would probably cost you about $1,500 a person,
which is not bad.
And that's just an estimate. Don't quote me.
Well, I mean,
that's just an estimate.
Think about how much people are spending to go to Bonnaroo every year, right?
Yeah, and think about how much you would spend to go to the beach.
Yeah.
So that whole trip would probably cost you about $1,500 a person, and that's probably for about 4 or 5 days. And that's with the flight. And that's now if you're going over there and you're like, I want to buy everything. Obviously, that's going to be more expensive. I want to shop till I
Chelsea.
drop. Obviously, it's going to be way more expensive if you just want to buy everything and shop a whole lot. So about $1,500, if you can save that up, we would highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, it is the first
making
place.
That trip and staying at Slumber Party Hostel.
It is the first place I recommend to Bonnaroovians specifically. Because you're going to find, like I said, that it shares so much in common, and you're going to find that you're going to have such a good time in the same way that you would at Bonnaroo.
And also, if you need any help, like booking your trip, or you just have any questions, just message me or Daniel personally, and we will be happy to help you with this.
Oh, I would be delighted.
I would be, like, more than delighted. Like I said, my family is, like, well, not from there, but, like, my mom grew up there. My granddad ran a club there back in the olden days.
It was like, how did your grandpa serve his country?
Throwing parties. Literally.
But yeah, one of the main tips I'll give everyone, like we said, the flight is the most expensive things. Flights.google.com is your friend, because you can search your origin airport and your destination airport and give it flexible dates, and it will find the best deal for you amongst all the airlines except Southwest, but they don't fly internationally anyway. So check that out, and you can set up alerts. You can say, like, hey, I'm looking for a price to Thailand or wherever you want to go under this price. And it will email you and let you know, like, hey, it's down to that price now if you want to get it. That's what I've used every time that we've done an international trip. So use that and you'll be set. Like Sharla said, if you're thinking about it and you want some help, please, by all means, send us a DM on Twitter. There's lots of different ways to message us. Message us on Instagram. A lot of you know my thing, so you can message me or message Sharla.
You can message me personally.
Yeah, I will be more than glad to help you get to Thailand. In fact, we're kind of thinking about going in April if everything has cleared up by then. So you want to go with us? That'd be fun.
Yeah, if everything is cleared up, like I'm already like planning this whole big group. So
yeah. I mean, if you want to go with us, I'm putting the open invitation out there. Like, hey, come hang with us in Thailand. We're going to go to Bangkok and the beach. It'll be amazing. I would love to have some other Bonnaroovians there.
That'd be dope.
Yeah. All right, so if you got any questions about any kind of travel stuff, we're not exactly experts, but
No.
we've done it a time or two, and we know how we do it, and we can pass on some good tips. Let us know. I feel that most Bonnaroovians already have the travel bug because many of them are driving miles and miles and hours to go to Bonnaroo anywhere. So, yeah, let us know. That'll wrap it up for this week, I think. Mm-hmm. We wanted to get a lot of this chitter-chatter out and talk with you about travel. Here in a couple of weeks, we're going to get back to regularly scheduled programming. We're going to have some interviews with some fun Bonnaroovians. And if you know about what's going on at a certain place in a certain middle of nowhere in Tennessee in a few weeks, we will see you there. And I imagine we'll be talking about that a little afterwards, too. It has happened before. It will happen again. You looking forward to that, Sharla?
I mean, I got to work, so.
Oh, well, I'm going to be there. And the bus is going to be there. But we'll talk more about that later. You probably already know what I'm talking about, but yeah, we'll talk more later. All right, so until next time, we'll talk to you guys soon. Get out there and radiate positivity.
Bye.